Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we're going to do our weekend review, looking at some of the races over the weekend, horses that caught my eye, and there were some very impressive performances. There were some not so impressive performances. Um, there was some interesting rides and races. So let's get on with it, and we'll start off with the 12:05 at Cheltenham, the Triumph Hurdle Trial. And Sir Gino stamped his authority on this race. He is the best of the British, isn't he? Um, I mean, it's not even close between him and Burdett Road. I thought Burdett Road would beat Sir Gino. Not afraid to admit that. I thought the performance of Burdett Road last time was very, very good, and the R figure kind of suggests that Sir Gino hadn't done anything up until that point. But yeah, this was really, really impressive. Travelled really kindly. So Burdett Road was a little bit keen for most of the race, but that was not the reason why he didn't win the race. He didn't win the race because he wasn't good enough. Sir Gino was by far the best horse in that race, and by far the best horse that the British will be sending to the Triumph Hurdle. The Irish have still quite a few. What's it called? Strong Heart or something like that. Cargess, Carla Conti, Nürburgring. They've still got quite a few that they're going to be coming over with. But in terms of what the British have, this was a very, very good performance. I can't imagine. So I normally like looking at the Adonis for the Triumph Hurdle. I can't imagine that anything's going to turn up in the Adonis that's going to be better than Sir Gino. Sir Gino is definitely the best of the British. And he is going to go very, very close. You know, he won't be out of the three. I can't imagine the other Irish are going to have that many better than Sir Gino. But this was a very, very strong performance. So with that in mind, you have to look at the likes of maybe Milantino hasn't won. Can they get him a handicap mark? Probably not in time. But definitely one, the others are horses to look out for, potentially in handicaps later on in the season. Move on to the 12:20, the Fillies Juvenile Hurdle. Woodhoo, again, she won comfortably. She beat Max of Stars, who we said was a good each-way bet. She did finish second. Green Sky was third. It was probably in the right order. The winner is very good, but is the winner... Where can they go with her? Because she can't go... Is it she? Is it she? She can't go against Sir Gino. Because she will have no chance against Sir Gino. Sir Gino will absolutely wallop her. Where do they go with Woodhoo? Or do they keep just farming all these Fillies juvenile races? Keep targeting all the Fillies races, and maybe she ends up in something like the Mayor's Hurdle next year. She's the Mayor for next year with Woodhoo. Very, very good performance again, proving she's probably one of the best filly juveniles around at the moment. Move on to the Time for Novices Handicap Chase, won in very similar style to Stage Star last year by another Paul Nicholls horse. This time it was Ginny's Destiny, who won in very good style, jumped well, battled well, ran away from them at the finish. Theatre Man started to close late on, but was not good enough to run down Ginny's Destiny, who was probably idling a little bit late on. This race does work out well for the Cheltenham Festival, so keep an eye on these horses for the Cheltenham Festival. Those towards the front. Unexpected Party, our selection, drifted massively all day. Went off 25-1, second outside of the lot, and ran a shocker. Never got involved, never looked like getting involved. Very, very disappointing, and clearly, I don't think I'm wrong that he's nicely handicapped, but I don't know what they're going to do with him. Do they need to drop him back in trip? I don't really know where his best form would be. Yeah, he's a tricky one to work out. I mean, when he beat Nappers Hill, that was really good form. In even his fifth last year in a decent race over at the Cheltenham Festival, that was good form. They just can't get him to win, though. He looks very awkward. Move on to the 12:55, won by Geromino. A nice performance, backing up his previous win at Doncaster. That form was actually looking quite good, although I didn't like the race at the time because it was a bit of a mess because there was so many hurdles it omitted. Geromino won the race, has come out and won again since. Rare Edition was third, has come out and won. Maybe it was actually a good race. those in behind that were interesting. So I was watching No Ordinary Joe, who's never put in the race. He's won 4 handicaps later on this season. Potentially could even go back for that Martin Pipe. Handicappers are likely to drop him a couple of pounds for that. I think he's only £2 higher than when finishing second in the Martin Pipe, behind Iroko, who people believed was a Grade 1 horse this year. If he was, and if that's true, No Ordinary Joe back for that Martin Pipe would be very interesting. We'll keep an eye on his handicap mark tomorrow. Sans Brew ran well for a long way, but then faded late on. May well have needed the run. Hadn't run for 231 days. Probably Coral Cup bound. Maybe the Martin Pipe for Sans Brew, who would also have a good chance. I think Paul was looking to find out what type of horse he had, and it's quite a good one. 1:15, the Paddy Power 2.5 mile handicap chase, won by Garlaw. It was great to see that for Jamie Snowden. The horse is clearly better than a handicapper, but not quite good enough for graded races. My disappointing one was Easy As That. Never got involved. Never looked like challenging. There's a few other disappointments. Victorino, only 7th, disappointed. Freya Darm doesn't want that far, so wait till he drops back in trip. Il Redoto ran his usual good race. I'm not sure what I would be interested in going forward out of that race. It looked a bit tricky to work out, to be honest. Moving on to the 1:30 at Doncaster, the Rossington. Jericho de Repenay beats Lump Sum and Fiercely Proud, but not by far, was it? It was not by far, and I actually thought he was going to get beat jump in the last. For me, that wasn't a Supreme Novice winner running there in Jericho de Repenay. I think there will be better horses than him. It was a good race that he was running in this Grade 2. But against 4 British horses, and the Brits normally have 1 or 2 that are good enough to go for the Supreme. The rest are all Irish. I don't believe that Jericho de Repenay will win the Supreme off the back of that. Yeah, he will have learnt a bit there. He learnt to knuckle down towards the finish, but he should have been going away from the others. Like Sergino, that's an impressive performance. I think Jericho de Repenay, that was not an impressive performance for me. Moving on to the 1:50, the Paddy Power Cotswold Chase, won by Capodanno, who beat the Real Wacker and Stay Away Faye. Ahoysenor was disappointing. That's Alright Gino sadly lost his life. And Royal Pagaille fell and is unlikely to run at the Cheltenham Festival now because it looked a bit of a heavy fall. In terms of what did we learn from that race, not a lot. Not other than Ahoysenor's not going to win a Gold Cup. Probably too high to win a Grand National, and his jumping would probably let him down in that. I think they'll skip Cheltenham and go straight to Aintree with him. He's got better form at Aintree, and coming there fresh might help him. Stay Away Faye will obviously revert to novice company for the 3 mile at the Cheltenham Festival, and that was probably a good performance from Stay Away Faye. Back in against novices, he might perform better. I wouldn't be backing Capodanno for a Gold Cup though. I don't think he's Gold Cup class. 2:05, Ashrow Diamond won comfortably. She was clearly the best of the mares, showing that Gala Marceau maybe isn't quite as good as they had hoped. She got really well supported, Gala Marceau, and ended up finishing 3rd. Under control, a good run. I'm worried that that's going to affect her handicap mark, which will be very annoying because she looked well handicapped. Clearly things went wrong last time. She's run much better here, but beaten by a very good mare. I think she's going to go up in the handicap though, which is annoying. 2:25, Alexa de Nutz beating John Bon. John Bon, I know he made an absolute mess of a fence, and I think that affected his confidence. He didn't jump that last at all, but he didn't battle back and run away from Alexa de Nutz. If, in my opinion, he was a champion chaser and going to beat El Fabiolo, he would have been able to pick back up after that slow jump and get past Alexa de Nutz, who is not a Grade 1 horse. He's not a top-class Grade 1 horse. El Fabiolo would have got back past Alexa de Nutz. Fugitive clearly wants 2.5. It was a good run from him, running on into 3rd. Nube Negra is a handicapper. Editor de Gite, didn't run his best race there, but Nube Negra could be interesting. Will the handicapper drop him a couple of pound with the Grand Annual in mind? 3 o'clock. I think Sergino's performance was the best performance of the day, because he beat a horse that was clearly very smart as well in Burdett Road. This was probably the second best performance of the day, in my opinion. Lossiemouth running away from Love Envoy. The other three weren't good enough. The other three are very good handicappers. But Love Envoy had proven that she was very, very good and a proper good mare. Lossiemouth made her look very moderate. This was very, very, very impressive from Lossiemouth. Connections have come out and said that she's going to stay for the mares this year and then go for the Champion Hurdle next year. I completely agree with that decision. She is only 5. There's no need to rush her into the Champion Hurdle. Stick to the Mares Hurdle. Why would you run a horse like Lossiemouth against Constitution Hill in the Champion Hurdle when you could go and win the Mares quite comfortably? And actually, maybe running against Constitution Hill and trying to take on Constitution Hill could leave a mark long term. Whereas running in a Mares, winning a Mares, will not leave a mark at all. And she... Honestly, I think Lossiemouth will end up being better than Honeysuckle. I know Honeysuckle has won a Champion Hurdle. Honeysuckle would not beat Constitution Hill, nor will Lossiemouth at the moment. 2:35 at Doncaster, I'm going to talk about this one. This was on Sunday. Marie's Rock won that, but would be no match for Marie's Rock. Would be no match for Lossiemouth. So if you're liking both of those and thinking, well, they both won Mares Hurdles, or they both won races featuring mares, Lossiemouth will comfortably beat Marie's Rock. 3:15 of the SBK Great Yorkshire Handicap Chase. Our selection, Captain Orr, ran an absolute shocker. Never got involved. I say it was a shocker. He kind of ran like when he finished 3rd in this a few years ago. Held up out the back. Never really got involved. Actually didn't pick up this time. And I do wonder whether this was to... People had kind of latched on to Captain Orr and that he would clearly been campaigned with a handicap in mind. And I just think, I just wonder whether the owner was like, well, we're not going to win then the first time that it looks like we might be trying. I'll still be backing him at Ascot in a few weeks' time. Captain Orr, probably going to drop a couple of pound in the handicap. Mr. Coffee ran okay in 6th. He wants further than this. And probably on the back of this, he's not going to qualify for the Grand National now. So that means they have to go back to that Kim Muir, where they were second in it a few years ago when Sam Whaley-Cohen actually gave him a poor ride. Go back for the Kim Muir, and I think Mr. Coffee will go very close in the Kim Muir. 3:35, the Cleve Hurdle, won by Noble Yates, just hanging on from Paisley Park, who was finishing fast. The fact that Noble Yates is winning a Cleve Hurdle, a Grand National winner, a horse who runs all over the place, hurdles, fences, Grand National fences. I mean, we'll probably see him in the cross country at the Cheltenham Festival. We won't, but that's the type of campaign that they're giving this horse, all over the place. And, I mean, we're just waiting for that youngster to come through in the Stayers Hurdle division. I really think whatever wins the Albert Bartlett, or one of those in the Albert Bartlett, should really be thinking about sticking to hurdles next year and not going over fences, because there is an opportunity to be a... to get into the Stayers Hurdle division and be there for a few years, because so many of these are just not good enough for the Stayers Hurdle anymore. The Paisley Parks, Champs, Dashel Drashers, Botox Hass isn't good enough. Noble Yates should not be winning a Stayers Hurdle. They kept him involved here. They kept him close enough, and he responded when it needed to. He does stay a lot further, but he shouldn't be winning a race like this in terms of with the Stayers Hurdle being a target for some of these. Moving on to the 4:10, the Novices Hurdle Grade 2 over 2.5 mile. Now, Gidley Park won this race, and although he only just won, he's going to be good next year, isn't he, over fences? He's massive. He's massive, and yet he still won this race over hurdles. He's going to be so much better over fences, and they've got a horse here. Again, I wasn't sure what they had. I know they've only just scraped home, and you could say, yeah, but it wasn't impressive. It might not have been impressive for this season. In terms of going to the Cheltenham Festival, there may be something a bit quicker than him. But next season, when he goes over fences, I would not be taking on Gidley Park at all. I think he is a future Gold Cup horse at Gidley Park. And I think he'll win the 3 mile novice over fences next year. He wouldn't be one I would keep over hurdles. Looking at the Red Rum Go North Red Rum Series qualifier, some scope won it. We obviously highlighted him a few times. Each time the race was getting abandoned. He eventually gets back out. I think he's got so much confidence now after that win at, was it Catterick, over 3 Mile 1. This is about his trip. I think there's lots more to come from some scope. And finally, Jasmine DeVoe certainly put himself in the reckoning for the champion bumper. Very good performance at Naas. The drop back in trip would be the only concern come the Cheltenham Festival. Is there going to be something a little bit quicker than him? But clearly Jasmine DeVoe is a very smart horse. So yeah, just a few things to note. Gino, very, very impressive. Going forward, who would I be interested in? Possibly Esperfecto, maybe for the back at the Cheltenham Festival. Definitely Sonsbruit and No Ordinary Joe at the Cheltenham Festival. I'd be taking on Jericho de Repene in the Supreme Novice. Under Control, keep an eye on a handicap mark. I'd take on John Bon in the Champion Chase. I'm still looking for Nube Negra in a handicap. Captain Orr, still back him at Ascot. Give him another go. Mr. Coffee for the Kim Muir now. Nothing from that race. Gidley Park, definitely when he goes over fences will be very, very confident. Some scope can win again next time, I think. And Jasmine DeVoe is clearly very, very good. Thanks for listening, and hopefully there will be a video again tomorrow with the new handicap mark analysis.